I've got a good segue for you because this is another topic I saw you said on Twitter. It's a great topic starter. You also said, I'll just read the quote. You said, it's starting to feel like NAVCT teams are going to need to mess with their map pools a bit. I swear it feels like everyone's getting clowned on their map picks. Now, obviously, again, this is has some crossover to CSGO. So I want to know what did he mean by that? Because obviously at the moment, loads of teams have lost their map pick, right? In fact, it's even why half the subreddit's just like coach of team, like, please stop saying my team is bad on that map. That's like every interview. So go on then, expand on this a bit.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just something that I saw from watching, because I watch basically every single match. And I was like, I was looking up at the corner. I'm like, that can't be right, because they're down like 3-12 on their map pick. Like, how is this happening every single time I tune in? But I mean, it makes sense. You have a week to prep. You know they're going to pick this map. I think a lot of it came down to these teams are still kind of like developing their new rosters. They're putting things together. And so they're scrimming people on the maps, and they develop like, a 3 or 4 map pool with like 1 or 2 that are clearly the strong ones. And so it becomes very easy to prep against them. And because of that, obviously, if the other team knows where you are all the time, it's very hard to play the game. So I feel like I'm one of those people that kind of looks at like what is the ceiling of the strategy of the game. Okay. Whether it's practical to do that or not, sure, maybe you only have
the
protocols
ideal
for 3
scenario,
maps, and that's fine. And if you only have protocols on 3 maps, then just pick those 3 maps. But if you can reach for that next level of having, maybe your permanent ban is actually pretty good, or you have this other 3rd map that you can throw in, or 4th map that you can throw in, so that if the team is expecting you to pick Ascent because you've won 17 straight Ascent games, then all of a sudden you just like pick Split, or you pick like Breeze or something like that. People are like, wait, what is this? How do we ban against this next? What is our next thing? And suddenly you get like 3 maps that are really good for you. And the other team has to throw out like, 20 pages of prep work or something like that.
Yes.
I mean, I also think like, you simply can't, I think that Valorant's in this kind of like puberty right now, where it's like, okay, a lot of these teams have sort of developed this identity on like, this is the maps we like to play, these are the maps we don't, these are the agents we like to play, whatever. And it's like, there are going to be new maps that continue to come out. You are past the point, and I've cited this before as, when Fracture came out, teams had to start deciding what they were going to ban out of Breeze and Fracture, because they could not have both as a ban. Like, they just couldn't do it. And I think that was the first turning point at which a lot of teams had to start expanding their map pool, because when Breeze came out, it was like, okay, well, you can just permaban it because it's fine. You've got all the other shit over there. That is not going to be an option anymore. Like, you have to expand your map pool, otherwise you will drop off because other people will do it. Like, you can't ban enough maps to make up for the new maps that come out. And then I think also, with these like the changes in meta and the flexibility that the game affords, is like the way that certain maps are played are also going to be different. So you may have always permabanned, I don't know, fucking Haven, but it's like the way that Haven is ideally played, or like the kind of compositions that you want to play right now may be different to the reasons that made you want to permaban Haven in the first place in the last however many months or whatever. And so, I definitely think that, sure, if you're in a point like in the immediate present where you can only play X, Y, and Z map, yes, you have to play to your strengths. I think it's very important that teams play to their strengths, especially when it comes to important games and officials. But it's like, these teams have to be able to expand that, because wherever the map pool gets, whether it gets to a point that's like they only bring out a certain number of maps and that's it, they stop, or if it's something like, for example, in Rainbow Six, there are however many maps, but the competitive map pool is capped at X number of maps, right? So it's like you always know how many maps you have as an option. Whatever it may be that is in Valorant, you have to be prepared for that, because if you're unprepared, there will be a team that is prepared. But because there's so much that comes into it, like, yes, there are no agent bans, at least as of yet, and stuff like that, and new agents are coming out, and the way that you play them is changing, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, what you may have developed as your identity for the map you don't like to play, or the maps you don't like to play, that might not actually continue to be true, and you have to constantly be evolving in that, because there will be other teams that are doing that. And I think that's the thing with seeing a lot of teams like losing their map picks is it's like, okay, Team X may have always been great at Icebox, but it's like, okay, great, Icebox got changed. The agents that we're playing on Icebox are different. Like, you may have always been great at Icebox, but like, we're playing it better right now given the circumstances of the game and the environment of the game, right? I also just think it's a really good thing that just shows like learning and growth from all of these teams to the point where like you are seeing the teams that are in the same league and in the tier 1 league of the game sitting at a very similar point in like their overall average performance. And so being able to take maps off of each other. And I think that's a very important part of this game, because it actually starts to show that separation out of like, okay, these are the teams that can compete with each other. This is the next level of teams that can compete with each other, etc. And you start to get this idea of what the scene actually looks like, which again, yeah, I think all falls under that umbrella of like, it's the puberty of the game.
That's why, actually, since essentially we have the exact, and it's obviously copied off CSGO, like Valorant the game, obviously we have the exact same map pool size, we have the same veto system. I can actually tell you there will be a lot of nuance that maybe the CSGO pros know and their coaches and IGLs, but a lot of casuals aren't going to know how much complexity there is as to what you can do in the veto. They're all going to think naively, right, you veto your worst map or their best map, and then you just pick yours with the highest win rate. Not at all. Like, I'll give you a few examples. Some of them I've mentioned on past shows. I won't make it too long. Like, first of all, if you always go to your home map and it really is your best map, that's super predictable. I'm just going to prep your best map only. I'm not going to waste my time prepping 4 maps. Prep your best map. And if you're winning on it, as fucked up as this sounds, you're also giving me a blueprint of what to shut down and how to stop you. And one problem that's a very common problem, it's like the thing about the agents, is when you are the best team on a map, naively, you tend to just repeat what you did before, iterate again, and it's only when people beat you, you go, right, shit, better update this. It's why, if you get the rare teams, it sounds like maybe the Gambit squad was like this in Valorant. If you get the rare teams that really are like geniuses at the game, they update before you even beat them, so that's why you can't fucking get to them. Then there's the other angle, right? Like you said, a massive bonus elevated if you can go away from your home pick is they just wasted like 10 hours looking at fucking VODs for that. That ain't going to help them on this next map. Then there's another angle, this is a good one, which is, this is a really misunderstood one, which is if you both end up having the same permaban in a veto, if you occasionally play it, you have an insane advantage. You can either not veto it and float it and gamble that he's going to float it, which can never get played, or he has to waste his perma on your permaban. So the problem with that, though, is he's not going to do that, or if he goes first, he's going to know you're going to have to be the one who loses in perma chicken if you never play it. So what I would suggest you do, by the way, quick pro tip, is if you're like a top 10 team in your region, just play it against the teams that are like 35th ranked or whatever. Just show some examples of you playing it. Spoiler, you're going to be so much more skilled, you're going to win a bunch of these games anyway, but you've got to at least like make the other team respect that they will have to do the chick, because anytime that happens, by the way, that's a rare example, but when it happens in a match, whoever gets to either go second or is forced to be the one who doesn't have to perma it gets an insane advantage in the veto. They just get one extra map, basically. So that, think about the edge you'd get if you were two equally balanced teams. And then the last one, there's one last one that goes like this, which is if you in your map pool have maps that, look, you're not strong on it, but you're willing to play, it's on the fringes of your map pool, it means now that you can do stuff like when you play against a team who is just bad on that map, if they're enough below you in like raw level, you can just play at that time. You don't have to play your home map. So these are all areas where like it's absolutely, I know the problem with this is because it's the beginning, you haven't played the game yet. People think it's just easy. It's like an ABC thing, just paint by numbers in the veto. The veto has so much depth, people don't get it. Like, I actually think if you're a coach IGL, people don't know. People have 3-hour discussions about this shit, about what they should veto and what they might do here and why should we, like, it's actually a fascinating topic if people don't know. There's definitely a lot of depth that you can explore in Valorant, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think kind of like the thing you were talking about at the beginning is like you just pick this map if you're good at it and you ban this map if you're bad at it. I feel like that's kind of what was happening in the first few weeks of
Understandably, yes.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. But I agree that like the amount of complexity just in the map drafting part is like insane and totally not realized yet.
For sure. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.